about time for another story. In case you don't know me, my name is Dania. I'm just a typical blonde from Belarus living in Germany, and I try to explore this country as much as I can, and I'm sharing the stories here on YouTube with you guys. And in case they make you smile a little, please hit that subscribe button below to help me grow. Thank you! For this week, I'm going to share with you my first impressions about Berlin. I've been there 2 weeks ago for 3 days. I know that 3 days is not enough to explore this city to its fullest, so I'm just gonna cover the basics and tell you the top 10 things that surprised me about this city, and maybe this is gonna surprise you as well. The first thing that surprised me about Berlin is the way you write SZ and Z on the street name signs. Maybe other cities use this type of writing as well, but as a foreigner living in Bremen, I've never seen this type of writing before. I'm only familiar with the standard way of writing SZ and Z, so I got really confused at first, but I also find this type of writing really pretty. The second thing that surprised me about Berlin is also connected to the language. I somehow thought that Berliners only use the Hochdeutsch, that the Berlin is where the Hochdeutsch comes from, because it is a capital and a lot of foreigners come there and they only speak the Hochdeutsch. So yeah, forgive me for not knowing, but I'm blonde for reasons, okay? So I got a little bit surprised when I went to the bakery and I wanted to order some Brötchen, but I got some Schrippe instead. I don't know if I pronounce it right, but it was a nice discovery for me. The third thing that surprised me is the Berlin Underground. I like the way it's built. It is very easy to understand how to get from one side of the city to another side of the city, even if you're in Berlin for the first time. The only thing that surprised me there is that not every station is equipped with elevators for disabled people. I mean, I got so used that in Germany basically everything is equipped well enough for the people with special needs. Maybe disabled people in Berlin don't need underground that much because the buses and trams are fully accessible to them as well, but I still find it kind of surprising. The next thing that surprised me about Berlin is how clean this city is. Yeah, you heard me right. It is the capital with a lot more people than in Bremen, for example, so I kind of expected it to be a lot dirtier, but I was wrong. The streets are actually cleaned regularly, and I saw it myself and I was really amazed. And especially the central train station, which in Bremen is full of penners, so it is impossible to keep that place clean. But in Berlin it is not like that, it is very tidy. Maybe the reason behind it lies in the amount of policemen that I saw in Berlin. I saw more policemen there than I saw in my life, and at first I was really worried and I thought that something has happened, but it's not like that. They were just casually patrolling the streets, maintaining the safety and order, and I liked it a lot. Also, I visited Berlin during COVID at the time when this city turned into Corona risk zone again, so I expected people to be more careful about wearing masks and keeping their distance in public places, but nobody seemed to care, even the police. I mean, of course the Berliners would take the masks on when they enter the building, but they would take them off immediately after leaving the building, and they also wouldn't wear them at bus stops or while walking through the city. That was really surprising because something like this cannot happen in Bremen. Somebody gonna complain and yell at you. The next thing I was told before, but I've never believed it until I came to Berlin myself, it is that you hear English a lot more often than you hear German on the Berlin streets. And that surprised me because I learned German specifically to be able to communicate with Germans. And there, even the oldest grannies could speak it perfectly. No wonder foreigners prefer to start discovering Germany from the capital, because it is really the place where you're gonna be understood. You meet a lot of different people in Berlin. It is a capital, so I guess it is destined to attract all kinds of people. So, for example, I saw a person that was fully covered in trash bags instead of clothing. Or the person that was walking on the streets barefoot, and it was end of October, so it was really cold and I got a little bit worried. But nobody was paying attention to this kind of people, as if that's normal. And maybe it is normal for Berlin, but I was surprised. I should add to my top 10 list how cheap Berlin is in comparison to what I've expected it to be. In my experience, capitals are normally more expensive than the rest of the cities because of the tourists. So the restaurants, shopping malls, and public transportation is normally going to be more expensive, but not in Berlin. And that's a nice thing to know. Now the question for Berliners, how do you cross the streets there? In the city center there are not many streets with traffic lights, and when you actually find one you wait ages for it to turn green and then it turns red almost immediately, no matter how fast you cross the street. It stressed me out so much. So this is it. These are my 10 things that surprised me about Berlin. Tell me guys, what do you think about them? What did surprise you about this city? And of course I was avoiding the places that other Germans told me to avoid in Berlin, and I also focused my attention on the best parts of this city to see as much as I can in that limited time. But overall I have a really great impression of the German capital and I'm really motivated to visit it again. I hope that's gonna happen soon, but unfortunately I don't know the future except for one thing. I'm going to catch you next week with another video, so stay tuned and cheers!